Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the monthly Town of Milton Board meeting. Today is October the 22nd, 2025. The time is 6:30 p.m. I'd like to get the meeting started with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Delnicki.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Delnicki.
Present.
Councilwoman Soden.
Present.
Councilman Froelich.
Present.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Present.
Supervisor Ostrander.
President, we'll have two public hearings to start the meeting today. The first public hearing is on the comprehensive plan. Time is 6:31 p.m. Brenda, could you read the notice for the public hearing, please?
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Milton will hold the public hearing on Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear from the public regarding the proposed draft comprehensive plan. The documentation is located at the Town of Milton website.
Thank you, Brenda. The public hearing on the comprehensive plan will now be open. Each speaker give your name and you'll have 3 minutes to comment. Public comment number 1 is now open. Anybody like to speak?
Hi, my name is Janet Bartow. I live over on 680
No, thank you.
There you go. Thanks. Yep. It's on. Okay, yeah. Again, my name is Janet Bartow. I live over at 80 Middle Line Road. I just have some comments. I'm just going to read them. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Kerr and the Comprehensive Plan Committee for the work on updating the town's comprehensive plan, and also to acknowledge Mary Beth and Adam at Delaware Engineering for their work as well. I was relieved to see the rural transitional zone dropped from the plan. I thought it was not representative of the town's vision to keep the western side of town rural and to keep development in the eastern half. I had attended the last comprehensive plan committee meeting and was appreciative of the discussion. Mr. Munter gave some sage advice about remembering the future Milton. Mr. Olenek expressed his concern about opportunity for the town to grow. I look to the new Milltown Center, the Route 50 corridor, Geyser Road, and Rowland Street, and believe there'll be ample room for future growth, both residential and commercial. As people age out of their homes, more affordable, older homes are going to be coming into the market. There was conversation concerning the non-conforming lots in the R2 district. Many, if not most of those lots were there before the 2001 plan was written. And that plan, I believe, has helped to keep more haphazard growth from happening in the R2. I can imagine the competing voices that the town board must listen to, and I'm grateful for this process and feel that we were heard. So in conclusion, I think it's fair to say, judging from the input from the community gatherings, the town survey, and social media posts, we don't want to be like Clifton Park, Malta, or Saratoga Springs, because we're Milton, and we have special attributes and history that makes this town what it is. We may need a little tweaking, but we're not broken. And I look forward to the next step of updating the zoning to correlate with this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Anyone else? John Cromie?
John Cromie, 132 Bath Street, Ballston Spa, New York. I wear a couple of hats here. This is a village resident and also as a person who's been living, who has property out in the town of Milton, and we call the farm, and also have been part of Milton Grange for quite a while. And the master plan is really pretty good. And it's drafted. I have spent the last 2 or 3 days reading the whole thing from cover to cover. But there are a couple areas I would want to sort of talk about. One in reference to the village. The master plan refers to various studies that have been done in the town and also 2 or 3 regional studies. Does not mention the master plan of the Village of Ballston Spa. I'm gonna look into that. I was chair of that for a while and also very much a part of what it had produced. And there were a couple areas that the town of Milton, we hope the town of Milton would be coordinating with us. And that dealt primarily with the area around Cornell Hills and Kelly Square, especially Victory Circle, which was a recreational area which the village could be developing. And we found that there was a bit of crossover between that part of the village and the people who live on the other side of Greenfield Avenue on Lee Street, Malahy Lane, and Sunny Lane. There was no pedestrian access, really, between those areas. So most of that pedestrian access would have to come from the town of Milton. And the other area of concern was the Route 50 corridor, which the village considers a gateway, and spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how it should be implemented as a gateway, what changes should be made, and what have you. And the town of Milton becomes very involved in that because it has to determine whether that gateway begins at North Line Road or perhaps around job lots, and whether it would key into the plan of the village to sort of extend that gateway or not. And there was really only one paragraph towards the end of the master plan that was really devoted to that part of Route 50. There was other master plans perhaps should have been reviewed. That for the town of Galway and the town of Greenfield. Because if you look at what those 2 particular towns have done in the areas adjacent to Milton, it creates an image of something that Milton is, which I don't think has been picked up. Milton is actually a pivot point for this part of the county of Saratoga. Milton defines the area that is suburban and the area that is rural. And those rural areas to the west and north, the master plan doesn't say too much about north, to the north of Milton, actually buffer the rest of the rural areas in the county of Saratoga in those directions. And by one of the good things that happened out of this particular master plan is that there's a concern about the transition zone, and it was eliminated. That was good because that could have had effects on not just in Milton, but also in the surrounding towns. And Milton position as a pivot point. I think it's incredibly important to realize when anything is being done to implement this master plan. The rural area, when it's talked about, there are 2 terms. There's open space and there's agriculture. And they are defined and used differently, although in the same breath almost when it's all the master plan. They are very, very, very different. Open space really is a residential concern. Open space provides trails, parks, and places like that for people who really don't have the room to use that recreation in and around their own properties. Or in the rural area, you have it, it's not a concern. Open space is there to better the lifestyle of people who live in the rural area. The agricultural aspect are really helping to promote a lifestyle where people want to use agriculture. And Milton's agriculture is very different. The master plan talks about farm operation, and that's a commercial operation. There are a few of those, but not many. Most of the agriculture I call supplemental income farming. And that is farming which is done by families basically on their lots, and 5 acres is perfectly fine for this. It's perfect, as a matter of fact. or they have, maybe they have bees, maybe it's fruit trees, maybe it's rabbits, maybe it's a pig or two, or maybe it's gardening or flowers or whatever. But that brings in a small amount of money directly or indirectly into the family. That is Milton's farming. I had the opportunity several years back to ask Richard Ball, who's Commissioner of Ag and Markets, about that type of farming. And he looked at me cross-eyed at first. Then he asked, where are you from? And I said, Saratoga County. And he said, oh, well, that's different. And what that means is that Ag and Markets does not have a means to measure that type of agriculture. It's not in its charts. It's not in its maps or anything of that nature. And therefore, it's not something that really can exist in official documents. But here in Milton, it is the major force of agriculture in the rural area. Also, with assessments, there is no classification for single family with small agriculture. It's single family. So the maps provided by the real property tax does not help us in that regard either. This is recognized apparently according in the farm study plan of the town of Milton that was done several years ago. So I look at that area, that type of agriculture as something that can be a focus of development. And the town of Milton works in development. And when people are putting money into fencing or into fertilizer or into their fields or into their ground, it's the same thing as putting money out of a factory onto a piece of ground. It's an investment. And I think the town of Milton has an opportunity to help agriculture and people involved in what I call that supplemental income farming by doing things like promoting agritourism. Maybe trying to see if we can find a place for a slaughterhouse. Or perhaps a commercial kitchen here or there, so people can actually take their produce and turn it into some additional income. But there is a vast need, I think, for agricultural development in Milton and help the families and help bring a little, their land bring a little more money into their coffers. And as I said before, 5 acres is fine. So you can do small agriculture on 5 acres. It is not atomizing or creating small lots, as the master plan seems to indicate. That is not adequate for farming. For farming operations, that is correct, but not for the major type of farming here in the town of Milton. And the final thing I would like to talk about is the vision statement. It appears as if the vision statement was written before the master plan was actually put together. It's very generic and it could really cover any town. The reason that is important is that anybody in the know who wants to look over a municipality looks at their master plan first. And the thing that they really read is the vision statement. The vision statement should be particular to Milton and the various areas that the master plan has dealt with, comes up with various conclusions and statements, are really very good. They, I think, should be taken and turned into a new vision statement that when somebody reads that, they'll say, okay, these people in the town of Milton know what they're doing. Okay. And I'd like you just to take another look at that, perhaps if you have the time, because that's part of the advertising and promoting the town. And that's my spiel. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Eric Smassino.
Eric Smathman, 538 Middle Line Road. I didn't know what John was gonna say. And I think I can define it a little bit more. Just, I first, thank you, Mary Beth. I had asked her some specific questions. She told me where to go. I did not read the comprehensive plan, cover to cover. Busy time. But I wrote something down, that might address some of what John was talking about specifically. The places where Mary Beth, told me to look, it talked about agriculture. And it was very generic. And I realized that agriculture, based on the New York State definition, is you do $10,000 in revenue. That's not what happens in the western part of town. John was talking about subsistence or additional income. I call it private agriculture. You go in the western part of town, there's people, doing things for themselves, and maybe they make a few bucks with hay bales or whatever it happens to be. But let me just read this because everybody wants to go home. So. I read the portions of the conservation plan, the state that state promoting agriculture, and I assume they're talking about the state threshold of 10,000 in sales. May suggest that there's another type of ag that is not for money. It is private ag and could be described as homesteading. The term hobby farm has been coined by folks that have never hayed a 10-acre field on a hot June day or shoveled out pens of manure. Trust me, they are not what I consider a hobby. Collecting stamps is a hobby. Homesteaders will keep the R2 district open. They will love their property, and other than a divide for maybe a family member to build a home, they will keep things the same. That is what why they moved there in the first place. I think that's what people in the western part of town want. We need a workable definition that describes a homestead and that it can bring guidance to future zoning rules. Other than a few farms, ag will never be a big business in Milton. I wouldn't say I have a PhD in agriculture, but I've been around it for a long time. And, unless you want to grow rocks, this isn't the place to open a farm. We don't have the soils, rocks in many of the R2 areas. We do have plots that can easily be made into private ag homesteads. And the plan really doesn't address that. Just being generic. And I'd like to suggest that, one other thing, I Googled homestead, what's the definition? And it turns out the state actually does address homesteads. It addresses assessments, and it's a state thing. You got to fill out forms and stuff like that, so it wouldn't be a town issue. But I'd like the board to consider maybe I don't know if you want to call it a subcommittee or a separate committee, doesn't matter, where we could come up with a good workable definition of what a homestead is. It might be 2,000 square feet of vegetable and or having rabbits and or whatever. I don't know. But I know that there's some people in the town that would certainly step up to help the board and come up with a workable definition. And from that, we could come up with some zoning that would support that the western part of town. You won't have to worry about, you have a big farm and that farmer passes. The next thing that happens is that, the nephews get it, and the first thing, the whole thing's, divided up to get as much money as possible. People have homesteads. You're going to carry them off that place. They love it. They want to stay there. And I think if we encourage that, John was saying, Milton really knows what they're doing. I asked somebody, I said, do you think we can get away with that? If we say Milton is for homesteads or something to that effect, and we support it, which we do. I mean, I love this town, that. And I just think that that's something, if you consider it, I'd be happy to chair it or do whatever you'd like to try to, quickly come up with something, because I know that eventually you're gonna grab this comprehensive plan and move forward. We could get a good workable definition. I think that'll help in some of the zoning that might encourage that. And you can look at the state definition, that's a totally separate thing, but it's really set up cursory reading, but it's set up so that if somebody passes, the person that's left doesn't get thrown out of their home, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that's a state function, but we could go from there. I think that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else in the audience? Michelle Judah?
Hi, Michelle Judah, 34 Van Tassel Lane. I just wanted to echo some of what the first speaker was talking about. I did watch the replay, the recording of the last comprehensive plan committee meeting. And I really, in taking a look at the plan and reviewing some of the stuff online, I think that Mary Beth and Adam did a really good job of summarizing the public comment and the feedback that came. I was really, very pleased when I read their bullet points of what they heard. It really aligned with what I thought the public was saying as well. And in terms of that last meeting, I'd like to add to the accolades that I really thought that Chairman Bartow was a hero of that meeting in terms of really strongly representing what I think the town has been saying is that we don't want sprawl from the town center going westward. And I thought he did a really excellent job of championing that and bringing his experience, obviously, as the planning board chair. And I was very impressed by his openness of things that have been learned, since we last went through zoning and opportunities to improve things. So I thought he did a really great job. I guess what my concern is, I echo, what we've heard from the last two speakers, that in Milton, when we talk about economic development, we seem to have we're very focused on commercial development in the town center, businesses, large corporations and chains. And I think when we think about who we are as in Milton, that we haven't really spent time thinking about how we can use the character of our rural area to spur economic development. And one of the things that I know has been, said by residents there, in addition to what we've heard tonight, is just like making sure that people are able, to have those small businesses in that area, to use their land, and have relief when they need to, take a corner of the land and use it for something. And I guess the thing that I'm concerned about is that when the comprehensive plan was first presented with that transitional zone, there seemed to be, for really good reasons that Mary Beth was explaining at the last meeting, why it was done that way, but really this idea of like, let's have that zone where we could create some of these smaller, home-based businesses and have that. And we were really kind of all in. And then there was a lot of public outcry about that. And so it came through one meeting that, okay, we'll just get rid of that green transitional zone and we'll make everything rural reserve. And I did hear some conversations. I think that that's what the public wants, but I did hear some conversation at that last meeting where there could be implications to that I think we need to take the time, to think through. Are we leaving? Will that land use plan allow for the things that we're hearing talked about tonight? There was a whole conversation that I'll admit I don't completely follow, but a whole conversation about, people being able to go in and put private water in that area. And then if they leave and the town becomes responsible, and does that open the door for water? And I know there's a lot of folks that really don't want to see water expanded out into that western area. So I guess, I'm just concerned that it's a major pivot. I think taking the transitional zone out is correct, but it's a major pivot. And are we sure that this land use plan, making it all rural reserve, is going to give us the flexibility that we need to really, be able to preserve our character and allow people, to make good use of that land and do what they want to with it. And so second comment that I would make, last comment that I'll make in regards to this, again, I always, when I've talked about this before, like I know that this is not ideal, but it's been more than a year now, at least a year, maybe two, that I've gone to meetings where I've heard warnings given to us, right, from Mary Beth, right, about, and the people that came in and provided advice to the comprehensive plan committee, right? You have a beautiful town, right? Don't lose it, don't screw it up. And Mary Beth, you know, has really taken the time to educate us that, you know, kind of what she had in that transitional zone is really allowed, you know, out in the R2 right now. And, you know, and the warning sign has been, hey, you know, if somebody found that, you know, who had a lot of money, they could take advantage of it, right? And there was conversation at the last comprehensive plan meeting where that's kind of what happened with Milltown Center, right? Is that they came in and they used the zoning that was in place to the maximum extent possible. And maybe that's not exactly what people were thinking about 20 years ago, you know, but somebody took advantage and really built that completely out. There was mention that traffic impact has, you know, maybe wasn't foreseen when there was this emphasis on what we were doing in the town center. So what I'm saying is inadvertent consequences, right, can come from not being really careful about planning it out. And what my concern is it's been a good process doing the comprehensive plan, you're taking time with it, but now zoning has to happen, right? And we've been publicly saying if someone finds us, you know, they can like change the whole character of Western Milton. And so I'm going to use the word that we don't like to talk about, you know, do we need to have a moratorium on what happens in West Milton until we're sure that we have this right and that we have the zoning to protect it, which is what the people are saying that they want to have happen. And it would, as I said, I know that moratoriums are not a great solution, but they do get used. They've been used in Clifton Park several times. And I also think that it would, if there was a moratorium in place, it would push us to move the zoning, you know, as quickly as possible and get the process done so that we could open back up, you know, and lift that moratorium. But it gives us this opportunity. I just, like we've said it so many times, we're just inviting, you know, until we get the zoning in, we're just inviting something to happen there that we really don't want. Thank you for.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Rhonda Poirier and I live at 70 Heisler Road. And for those that aren't aware, Heisler Road is a dead-end road out in West Milton. It's barely over half a mile long, and there's very few residences along the road. And both at the last comprehensive plan meeting and tonight, there's a small group of us from Heisler Road that attended. Even though it's a small number of people, it really represents the majority of the residents on the road. So we've, you know, a substantial voice for the road, the Heisler Road. And I can't speak to why the other residents were at the last meeting or this meeting. I can only speak for myself, but my attendance was definitely because of Heisler Road was included in that rural transition zone. And that was my big concern. And my concern was on a few levels. First, Heisler Road runs along the Cateros Creek, or the Cateros runs along Heisler Road, I guess. But I didn't want to see the character of the road change. And we also have to consider, you know, any changes that in the zoning of Heisler Road and the impact that that would have on the Cateros as well as the character of the street. And so that's really why I was at the last meeting. And I just want to say thank you to the committee and also to the engineering group for listening to the feedback that we gave and taking the rural transition zone out. I think that's really the right thing for at least our own personal area. So thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Evening, everybody. I'm Matt Schwartz, 1074 Middle Line. Rhonda, thank you for that comment. I'm just going to kind of piggyback on that. We've appreciated the interaction with the board on this whole comprehensive plan process. Really helped reinstill a passion for government. I think we all would say that we have many forms of government that we feel like don't matter, but local governments really do. And we appreciated the level at which, you heard our concerns and addressed them, and has really reinstilled our faith in the board to reserve Milton as a rural town. So appreciate all of those things, and just am really grateful for all the work that's gone. I know it's a difficult process, and I know the kind of the battleground, the brass tacks would really come in when it comes to zoning. I did send some comments that have a few things that I know are going to be down the road for zoning. But I did just want to say publicly, we live on Middle Line Road, and we're just adjacent to the Catalina Drive development, which was brought out as one of the two developments, as you know, that was brought out of the open space initiative. And just wanted to, I know it was brought up at the last planning board meeting, the planning board committee meeting. Why are we still going with the open space initiative? Does it actually work? Is it actually producing the types of results that was intended? I don't think so. I know I'm partial because I live next door. I watched the whole entire property almost be clear cut from my tree stands, 100 yards away. So I saw in real time the development coming through. And I think some development is okay. Of course, we want to use land. We want people to live here. But under the guise of an open space initiative, it has caused a lot more development than I think our two people are comfortable with and desire. Regardless of how much land was, I know it's 50%, but that's I would say not worth the amount of traction that it's brought in. And it opened up kind of a single use variance to bring in water and sewer into that development as well, which just really is just a carrot dangling for developers to say, well, we got it out here, can't we just keep extending it? No, we shouldn't. And I think most of you agree with me on that. But maybe that's something for the board to take a look at. Does the open space initiative actually do what it's intended to do? Or do we still want to use it, or is it just a tool that is going to actually be a loophole for developers to take advantage of? But yeah, I just echo a lot of the things that have been spoken to tonight. Eric's comments on coming up with a definition for homestead, I think is really, really great, because you're going to have to carry me out of my property in a body bag. I know that. So we want to pass these properties down through generations. Our little 28 acre lot, I hope to be in my family for generations. So us homesteaders really do help secure and preserve the character that I think Milton is known and loved for. So continue to fight for us and give us a voice. We're important, and we love our land, and we love our town, and we're appreciative of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? Brenda, anybody via Zoom? Hearing none, a motion to close public hearing number 1.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Delnicki,
Yes.
Councilwoman Snowden,
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr,
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, the public hearing number 2. Public hearing number 2 will be on a 5-year fire protection contract between the Town of Milton and the Village of Ballston Spa. Public comment number 2 will now be open. The time is 7:04. Brenda, could you read the notice, please?
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Milton will hold the public hearing on Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 at 6:35 p.m. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear from the public regarding the proposed 5-year fire protection contract between the Town of Milton and the Village of Ballston Spa. The documentation for the public hearing is located on the Town of Milton website.
Thank you, Brenda. Public hearing number 2 on the fire protection contract with the Town of Milton and the Village of Ballston Spa is now open. If anybody would like to speak. Chief Crow.
Good evening. Kevin Crow, 103 Independence Drive, Ballston Spa. Just one comment before the budget comment. I was able to attend an event up to the Central County Training Center last week for a new introduction to a hazardous material truck that came into our county. The reason I'm bringing it up, it's stationed up at Saratoga Springs, manned 24/7, so that's why it's there. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because you town officials here, along with all the county officials, started with Chairman Phil Barrett, were very supportive of that apparatus. And that will only be a huge asset to every fire department in this county. So I wanted to take advantage of this meeting to say thank you to, the town of Milton, in which I oversee with the fire protection. So thank you for that. And about the budget, so the 5-year contract, we've been in many meetings, as you all know, and I am very appreciative to be able to, to stand here and I want to say thank you for what we've done over the years too. Not only, it's able to help us do our day-to-day, responses, but it's a huge asset for us to be able to have this funding for you town residents and to know that you're in great hands with this board and with the fire department when you need assistance from us. So I'm very, very thankful for that, for what you've done for us. And with that said, representing the Ballston Fire Department as chief, my assistant chiefs here and the Ballston Fire Department Supervisor Ostrand, I'd like to present a plaque to you in the town. And if I can read it, as presented to the town of Milton, given in recognition and appreciation for their many years of continuous support and dedicated commitment to the Ballston Spa Fire Department dated today. We've always had a gentleman's handshake. I've been in for 40 years in that fire department, and going back, it's always been a gentleman's handshake at the end of the day, going back to prior to Wilbur Treble days, and you have been around, and it was a thank you for the support with a handshake. But this has been a long time coming for somebody from the Ballston Fire Department to stand up here and thank the town of Milton. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done for us and all your time. All right. Thank you.
Well, myself and this board, Kevin, I just want to say that we thank you and we appreciate everything you do along with our Town of Milton Fire Department for our residents, and you do an outstanding job. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyone else? Mike Iaclucci, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, Mike.
Thank you. Good evening. Mike Iaclucci, 3 Encore Drive. Just wanted to say a couple of things with respect to the fire protection contract. My wife and I have lived in Fire Protection District 1 for 40 years. One of our sons and his family also now live in Fire Protection District 1. So it always has been important to us. And in fact, 40 years ago, we needed the services of the fire department, and they were terrific in responding to an issue we had in our attic. I think they continue to be terrific in responding to the needs of residents of the town of Milton. I want to acknowledge a couple of people who were extremely involved in the efforts to get us to this point. Councilman Froelich, Jason Miller, and Dave Bramer worked long and hard to get us to the point of having this contract in front of the village and the town. And I see Chief Krogh and some assistant fire chiefs. I thank them for their prolonged efforts to help all of us get to an understanding of what's needed by the fire department and how to address it. And I hope that the board formally approves the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Brenda, anybody via Zoom?
No.
Hearing none, a motion to close public hearing number 2 on the fire contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Soden.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, Chiefs, if you would like to stay, you're more than welcome for the whole meeting, but if not, I'll give you a chance if you want to go ahead and exit before we continue our full board meeting.
training night, we're gonna take advantage.
All right, thank you.
Can I say just one quick thing, Mr.
Yeah.
Supervisor?
Go ahead, John.
I really have to thank the three chiefs, actually the four chiefs, the former chief, because any information that we needed to get to this point, they were very forthcoming with, and it was a pleasure to work with you. And the people need to realize what an important service this is.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
You're taking everybody with them.
One of dozers.
Open the door.
Okay, moving on with the town board meeting, a motion to accept the minutes from the September 24th, 2025 town board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Snowden.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes,
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, next, the motion to accept the September 30th, 2025 special meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Snowden.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
That's okay. I was waiting for you to say.
Councilman Froelich.
you want to answer for me too?
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr. Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, next, public comment number one, agenda items only. Public comment number one is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Mike Iacolucci.
Thank you again, Mike Iacolucci, 3 Encore Drive. Just a question, Sophia Maruso had in the monthly activity reports, a survey, or an inventory report, excuse me. And I just found this very interesting. And basically, if I understand what she summarized, if we look at all of the parcels in the R2 zoning district, approximately 30% of the parcels fully conform to existing code. Approximately 30% as well are completely non-conforming. And the remaining 40% roughly are partly conforming. So the question I have is, what is going to happen with this information? What, if anything, will be done? What are kind of the consequences of the results of this?
Sophia's been working on this for several weeks and there's a lot more information coming that'll back up some of those figures and explain a lot of it.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else in the audience? Hearing none. Brenda, anybody via Zoom? Hearing none, public comment number one is now closed. Next, motion to schedule a public hearing on the preliminary budget, so from November the 6th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yes, Brenda, at this time, I would like to present you with the tentative budget for the town.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Snowden.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes,
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes. Next, Resolution 65 of 2025. Resolution 65, to hire Kevin Clark to fill a vacancy in the Highway Department as a machine equipment operator, whereas the Deputy Town Highway Superintendent had advised of the need to hire a new Highway Department employee to fill a vacancy in the position of machine equipment operator. Now therefore be it resolved, Town Board, after due consideration upon recommendation of the Deputy Highway Superintendent, does hereby appoint and hire Kevin Clark of 32 Huntington Parkway, Ballston Lake, New York, 12019, as a machine operator, grade 5, step 1, at an hourly rate of $24.91 per hour full-time, effective October 14, 2025, with benefits that are provided by the town's personnel policy, and if any, with said hire to be conditioned on a 6-month probationary period wherein his performance and his remains acceptable to the Town supervisor and highway superintendent, and pursuant to the town policy, now therefore be it resolved by the town board, Town of Milton, a motion for resolution 65.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Soden.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, next resolution 66 of 2025, resolution to approve modifications phase 2 contracts for the Rowland Street Highway Facility per recommendation of Delaware Engineering, D.P.C, and the Facilities Committee. This town board was advised certain construction, electrical, plumbing work and dates were recently discovered that need to be pursued and adjusted as part of the site construction for the new highway facility located on Rowland Street, which upon further review is necessary for the town, and the project was not covered by the original contract entered into between the town and the contractors, which have been recently discovered by Delaware Engineering, D.P.C, town engineer, project architect. Now therefore be it resolved, town board, after due consideration upon recommendation from the town facilities committee, town engineer, project architect, Delaware Engineering, D.P.C, and review of the town comptroller, and authorizes awards of following change orders and extensions as set forth in the attached letter caption recommendation to approve contact modifications of Delaware Engineering, D.P.C, dated October 22nd, 2025. First change order is Blank LLC. The town has elected to procure new lockers for the garage throughout their existing uniform vendor in lieu of having a general contractor procure and install. This requires a net contract decrease in the sum of $9,630. Blank number 2, original completion date of the project was listed as September 5th, 2025. Scheduled completion has been extended to December 31st, 2025. Based on the progress and construction additional of the fire water storage tank fire pump. This requires unchanged contract net value in the sum of $0. Number 3, B&D Industries scheduled completion has been extended to December 31st, 2025, based on the progress of construction and the addition of fire water storage tank pump. This requires unchanged net contract value in the sum of $0. RF Gordon Mechanical LLC scheduled completion has been extended to December 31st, 2025, based on the progress of the construction and addition of the fire water storage fire pump tank. The required unchanged net contract value is $0. RMB Mechanical Incorporated scheduled completion has been extended till December 31st, 2025, based on the progress of construction in addition of the fire water storage tank fire pump. This requires an unchanged net contract value of $0. Resolved that the town board hereby directs and authorizes town supervisor to take whatever steps are necessary to execute agreements between the town of Milton Plant Construction LLC, B&D Industries, RF Gordon Mechanical LLC, RMD Mechanical Incorporated, for such purposes and or work changes and deadline extensions and any other documentation inspections which will be needed and necessary for the processing and completion of these changes, and to do all that is needed and required to pay all amounts owed under this agreement. Now therefore be resolved by the town board, Town of Milton, a motion for resolution 66, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki.
Yes.
Councilwoman Soden.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, next, department committee reports, animal control, Eric.
Animal control monthly report for September 2025. Total calls 72, bite cases 1, dangerous dog hearing 0, animal seized 7. There were some tickets issued, unlicensed dog 9, running at large 3, nuisance dog 1 for a total of 13. Respectfully submitted, David Drzezinski, Animal Control Officer.
Thank you, Eric. Assessor's office also.
This is dated October 2025. A note from the assessor's office. Saratoga County has launched a new site, prosgar.com, for residents to review their property information. If you find a discrepancy in your inventory, please submit supporting documentation to the assessor's office for review. New homeowners, welcome to the town of Milton. Please make sure the assessor's office has your correct mailing address. Any question posed to the assessor's office, why haven't I received my Star credit check? Only the New York State Star Credit Hotline can answer that question, so please reach out to them directly, 518-457-2036. November, we will be sending out exemption renewal for agriculture, aged, senior low income, not-for-profits, and disability. You must complete and return the application annually to our office to be considered for the exemption. Have a great fall season. Laura Orminski, Town of Milton Assessor.
Thank you, Eric. Next, Building Department, John.
Yes, we have from the building department this past Thursday on October 16th, the disaster preparedness, along with the help of the Saratoga Sheriff's Department, hosted 2 active shooter training sessions, one for town employees and the other for residents. There were about 25 to 30 participants total. We want to thank the sheriff's office for their time and the town board for the use of the community center. And that's all I got.
Thank you, John. Next, Buildings and Grounds, Barb.
October 16th, during the month of September, I did daily cleaning community center, park, town parks, and all town offices, including the highway department, setups and takedowns of the community center as needed, checked all fire extinguishers and AED machines, inspected all playground equipment at Burgess Park and Suzanne Lyle Playground, and daily cleaning of park bathrooms. We put planted flowers at the clock tower and in the garden bed in front of town hall, worked on the Veterans Memorial, put new flags up, participated in the ceremony on October 4th, 2025. Respectfully submitted, Mark Leroy, Maintenance Supervisor.
Thank you, Barb. Next, Comptroller's financial reporting package issued to town board made available for public inspection on the town's website. John, you have a second report? No? Okay. Next, Economic Development, John.
Good evening. This month's efforts centered on the ongoing search for a qualified replacement diner operator at the airport, along with continuing follow-up and coordination on several active developments and infrastructure projects to ensure steady progress and timely completion. On the airport diner, I contacted an Albany restaurateur who was interested in expanding into new hospitality ventures and presented the airport project as a potential opportunity. We later met at the airport for a site inspection, which went well. However, after several days of consideration, he ultimately decided that this project was not feasible for him. I also met with the owner of the Half Moon Diner to discuss the project, but after consideration, decided this was not a good time to expand his business. And then I also contacted and met with the owner of the Glenville Diner to discuss the project, who after some consideration requested an inspection of the airport facility. I later met with the owner and his wife at the airport, where they expressed strong interest in the operation and indicated they planned to submit a proposal. And they had submitted a proposal, which I forwarded to the county, waiting for a response from them now. National food chain. Over the past several months, I've been working with a broker to attract a national food business that expressed interest in locating in Milton, specifically at the intersection of North Line Road and Route 50 at Lucky's Market. While their interest remains strong, the company recently announced a temporary hold on new site locations as they undergo internal restructuring and closing older locations not aligned with their brand and reinvigoration initiative. And further developments will follow on that. On a retail store, I recently learned of plans by a dollar store chain to expand into our area. I am actively following up with that company representatives to present the Milltown Center Development Project. And that had not yet broken ground, and that's also a potential location. The Route 29 roundabout. While the new roundabout is a very welcome addition to our traffic remediation, I did observe that the state placed crushed gravel along the shoulders, and as a result, traffic was driving into the gravel, kicking the stones into the driving lane, causing potential hazards. I contacted the New York State Department of Transportation and requested that they pave those areas to eliminate the problem, which they came and did, improving the site and taking care of any potential hazards. Chamber of Commerce Business Fair. The Saratoga Chamber recently held a business fair at the Gideon Putnam Hotel, which I attended, and had the opportunity to speak with a number of businesses about their current and future plans for expansion and the possibility of considering our upcoming Milltown Central. And just the other day, I met with the owner of Ted's Fish Fry. He advised that a soft milk opening will be coming probably around November 1st. And we can have a grand opening maybe about a month after that. So we're getting ready to open. And additional activities, as a member of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, I continue to attend monthly meetings in addition to the regular planning board meetings, county meetings, as well as the functions of the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Eric, any health officer reports?
Not this month.
Not this, okay, thank you. Next, Highway Department, John.
The Highway Department has finished roadway work on select roads in Rollins Hollow East and has been helping the Village of Ballston Spa with their paving projects. The Highway Department's fall pickup started on October 15th. Town residents can bring their yard debris curbside for the Highway Department to pick up. Sticks and branches must be separated from leaves and grass clippings to avoid damage to our equipment. Mixed piles will not be picked up. Any branches or trunks must be under 4 foot in length. We cannot pick up items longer than 4 foot in length anytime. That is considered lot clearing. And any work done by a hired contractor. Town residents can also bring their lawn debris to the transfer station 503 Geyser Road. Transfer station hours are Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is closed on holiday weekends. Fall pickup ends with our first major snowstorm.
Thank you, John. Next, Mike, you're up, historians report.
I'm just trying to get my screen up there, but. Hey, Adam. Computer. Good things and stuff is more important.
Blame it
than
on
my
Adam.
stuff. Got from there. All right, thank you. I'm looking at my quick, it's actually not a quick report, so I was hoping for a little bit larger audience. We had a lot of people here a few minutes ago, but it's okay. First thing, on October 4th, I took part in the town ceremonies commemorating the unveiling of the new Veterans Monument, which I hope you guys have all seen. It was a whole community effort, which most people here were actually here, see that, which I appreciate as well. It was well attended by residents of the community as well as President Ostrander, our town board members, and several members of the staff, in addition to members of the grounds and highway departments. State and local level office holders, as well as representatives of the Saratoga County Veterans Administration also attended. Additional participants included members of the Ballston Spa Fire Department, local VFW, Ballston Spa Cub Scout Troop Number 1, as well as members of the Saratoga Battle Chapter SAR Color Guard and Daughters of the American Revolution. The combined effort of all participants made a successful and enjoyable event. I want to thank the Grounds and Highway Department for their efforts in preparing the site for the ceremony. Special thanks to Dave Bramer for helping facilitate the program. Thank you, Dave. And you, Jason, and whoever Kevin is too. I forgot Kevin at the event, so make sure I put it in this time. On October 11th and 12th, I and my Revolutionary War reenacting group took part in Siege Weekend for Saratoga County at Fort Hardy Park in Schuylerville. About 1,300 people attended the event. As part of the activities, we held a ceremony unveiling a newly installed bench commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Knox Train of Artillery at the Canal Visitor Center, which was donated by the Empire State Sons of the American Revolution. Visitors that weekend were educated on the events of the battles of Saratoga, interact with various living history groups representing British forces, as well as American infantry and artillery. They also had the chance to observe and interact with a colonial blacksmith and a shoemaker. On display were 2 large wooden sledges created by the Saratoga County BOCES students, representing those used by Henry Knox to move cannon from Ticonderoga to Boston in the winter of 1775 and 76. On October 17th, I took part in a school program celebrating the surrender day of the battles of Saratoga, again at Fort Hardy Park. About 300 elementary school students from several towns in Saratoga and Washington County attended. And I also finished preparations for our next Milton 250th event, remembering the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Marine Corps on October 8th at 11 a.m. at the Factory Village Cemetery. Members of the Ballston VFW, Marine Corps League, members of the SAR Color Guard, and Daughters of the American Revolution will be there as part of the program. And it will include the unveiling of a marker for a local Revolutionary War Marine captain with interned in the cemetery. I hope members of the board will be on hand as well as many interested residents in town. Now, at this part of my presentation, I want to talk about the establishment of the US Navy because the Navy is essential to basically our evolution of the town, at least since the 1940s and 50s. Oh, this we get.
See ya.
October 8th.
What's my notes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mike, double check the date of that. Did you say October 8th or November 8th for?
Oh, did I say October?
I think so.
Oh, sorry, it's November 8th. It's November 8th for the Marine Corps ceremony, guys. Sorry about that.
I was upset I missed it.
Oh, no. So what I'm going to talk about right now is, again, the establishment of the US Navy. As you see in front of the Supervisor Ostrander, we have the US Navy flag, which the town was kind of purchased for the monument unveiling. I want to give you a quick history of US Navy and then one role it played in helping to shape our community. All right, this year we celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the establishment of the US Navy. Although we're 174 miles from the nearest seaport, it still has played a major role in our creation as a community. The birth of the US Navy was precipitated by the tensions between the American colonies, the British Empire in the 1770s. John Adams was an early advocate for a continental navy that would patrol our coastlines and protect American coastal colonies from British raiders, and also for international relations with other countries to garner support for American independence from Britain. Whitehall is actually considered the birthplace of the US Navy. This is the site where Benedict Arnold and members of the Vermont militia constructed a ragtag fleet of ships in October of 1776 to confront a small British fleet moving down Lake Champlain. Arnold's fleet took part in the first naval engagement for the Revolutionary War at Valcourt Island near Plattsburgh. It was also at that time, on October 13, 1775, when the Continental Congress authorized the purchase of 2 vessels to be armed against British merchantmen. In August of 1785, after the Revolutionary War had drawn to a close, Congress had sold Alliance, the last ship remaining from the Continental Navy, due to a lack of funds to maintain the ship or support the Navy. At this point, it was effectively disbanded, but was reestablished by an act of Congress in 1794. Today, the United States Navy is the most powerful in the world, with about 300,000 personnel in active duty and about another 100,000 in ready reserve. It's the 3rd largest military force in the United States. It has about 300 deployable combat vessels and about 4,000 operational aircraft as of July 18, 2023. The United States Navy has played a major role in the defense of our country since the Revolution. In the American Civil War, it was used to blockade ports of the Confederacy and seizing control of its rivers, putting a stranglehold on its military and economic lifelines. It also played a major role in protecting cargo and transport ships in World War I and is critical to defeat the Imperial Japanese in World War II. The United States Navy emerged from World War II as the most powerful Navy in the world. Today, the United States Navy maintains a sizable global presence, deploying in strength in such areas as Western Pacific, the Mediterranean, and the Indian Ocean, making it a frequent actor in American foreign and military policy. The role that the Navy played here at home is especially relevant in looking at the development of Town of Milton. In the 1940s, the U.S. government began to acquire parcels of land, about 3,900 acres of land nestled along the Kinross Creek, Luigi Creeks, and Crooks Brooks in the town of Galloway and Milton, for the creation of a naval nuclear propulsion program site. Approximately 65 acres of the site were used for the remote atomic power laboratory, while the remaining acreage was maintained for natural habitat. Originally, this site was called the West Milton site, but in 1972 was renamed the Kenneth A. Kesselring site in honor of the former General Electric Company's general manager, the Knowles Atomic Power Laboratory. Since the 1950s, its focus has been on training personnel for nuclear-powered submarines and aircraft carriers. The site includes various prototypes of training facilities, which operated from 1962 to 1996. For almost 70 years, more than 57,000 sailors have trained at Kesselring. The Kesselring site has been extremely important to the development of our town, being a major employer for its role in the U.S. Naval Propulsion Program. The initial establishment of this site has transformed this area by necessitating relocation of 30 families and farms, which also bring in new jobs and a large influx of personnel. The Kesselring site was significantly impacted by the town's economy and workforce. The large number of civilian and military personnel needed to operate the facility has brought a boost to the economy of the town, influenced the development of new businesses and housing, and shaped Milton's development patterns and infrastructure. An important personality associated with the creation of the Kesling site was our 39th president, Jimmy Carter. In 1952, Lieutenant Jimmy Carter became part of the Navy's fledgling nuclear submarine program, led by Captain Hyman R. Rickover, who is now known as the father of the nuclear Navy. Carter stated in his book, Why Not the Best, I was ordered to Schenectady, New York, as a senior officer of the crew of the Seawolf, and began to teach the men mathematics, physics, and reactor technology. At the same time, he helped General Electric workers to construct a prototype power plant within a huge steel sphere near the Knowles Atomic Power Laboratory. So again, I think it was important that we actually addressed the fact that this is the 20th anniversary of the U.S. Navy. And I know there was a big program planned at Saratoga County, at SPAC, which was canceled because of the shutdown. So I figure we have to, at least as Town of Milton, recognize the fact that how important they are to our existence. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Bringing a cannon on November 8th.
Next, Justice Court, Barb.
Okay, charges from September 1st to September 30th, 2025. Fines, $2,761. Surcharges, $2,445. Civil fees, $381.50 for a total of $5,587.50.
Thank you, Barb. Next, planning consultant, planning, zoning, and board reports, Meg.
Okay, this was prepared by Sophia Marusa, our Director of Planning, dated October 2nd. Several things to note are some ongoing facilities meetings, planning board meetings, zoning, and MS4 meetings as well. Construction site inspection happened on 9/18 for the Milton Highway Garage. Coordination on Milltown Center pre-construction. And as Mike Icolucci mentioned when he stood up here, was the R2 parcel research analysis that she did for the comp plan. So that will be incorporated to some extent in the comp plan as well. And then ongoing coordination with Bill Lewis on various applications for zoning board and planning. And in coordination with Delaware Engineering, as well as the zoning board and planning boards. Let's see, planning board. That happened on October 8th. Two items that they covered during that meeting was a 3-lot minor subdivision for 652 Ackland Boulevard, which was a 7-acre parcel in the R1 zoning district, proposing 2 new lots. And there's wetlands on that site. There's a County 239 referral has been requested and a public hearing is set for November 12th. And then back at the board this month was a 2-lot minor subdivision for 429 Sodeman Road. And they scheduled a public hearing for November 12th on that as well. Finally, the planning board did note at the meeting that the Milltown Center project is nearing completion of all their final plat approvals and will be moving to site clearing in early November, following final approval of water district between the town and the Village of Ballston Spa. The town planner and building department are making available phasing plans in the town hall for the public to review as the site clearing commences. And then the zoning board. 429 Sodeman Road. The public hearing was conducted in the area variance approved with condition. The applicant is able to pass on the parcel to his next of kin, but if he were to sell the parcel is no longer conforming, and the new applicant would need to come before the zoning board again. 1118 Middle Line Road, which was for a use variance. The public hearing was delayed from 9/25 to 10/23, which is tomorrow. And that's it.
Thank you, Meg. Next is the receiver of taxes, Lisa. Pretty soon, right? Getting closer. Next, town clerk's report, Brenda.
Okay, so in September, we had 8 marriages, one day officiant license, 23 certified marriage certificates, 72 certified death certificates, 14 FOIL and search of records, 159 dog licensing, of which 30 of them were online, 118 hunting and fishing licenses, 5 pavilion and community center rentals with a town share of $5,341.25. And I also want to mention Trunk or Treat was this Saturday. We had 100 people, less than 100 in 2024, so we planned for 150 this year. We had probably over 200. It was a great success. It was a beautiful day. We gave hot dogs and popcorn, and Meg did really well making popcorn. Kids had a ball, and thank you everybody for helping to clean up, because once you've been there all day, the last thing you want to do is clean up. We even had some of the residents helping clean up. It was wonderful. So I just wanted to let everybody know it was a great success.
Thank you, Brenda. No Youth Bureau report, correct?
No, you're on that.
Okay, moving on, public comment number 2. Public comment number 2, any town business. Public comment number 2 is now open. Anybody like to speak in the audience? Shell Judah.
You're making me think happy thoughts, Brenda. The Milton Day, is that what it was called? The Milton Day
Yeah.
that we were at. I just wanted to let you know, the pumpkin vendors, we purchased pumpkins there and used them at my son's wedding in the Finger Lakes. So we had Milton pumpkins there. Went over very well. If you could just give me a moment, I will bring this to town business. I promise. I recently learned, and I don't believe anything's changed since I learned, that there are a couple of bills regarding emergency medical services that are in front of the governor for signature. The one that I think is most relevant to be aware of is one of them would require every municipality to conduct an exhaustive planning process related to emergency medical system plans. And it would require coordination between counties, cities, towns, and villages to assess current service levels, identify existing service gaps, and estimate costs for providing such services. The other 2 related bills, one of them would remove any funding provided for EMS services. It would move it outside of the tax cap to try to help sustain. If people aren't aware, emergency medical services are really having a hard time because of funding issues and getting in that adequate personnel to staff it. The third bill doesn't probably impact us too much, but would allow ambulances to use the thruway without needing to pay tolls. So again, trying to help for their sustainability. So how I think that this relates to the town is been a while now, but there was a gentleman who came from the Community Ambulance Corps several meetings back sometime this year and started presenting, had some statistics with him about, the calls that they were receiving and, what was happening. And there were some good questions that got asked. I think, kind of caught them a little bit off guard, but just kind of looking at historically what they're seeing in terms of, the amount of calls that they need to make and response time and, again, any of those gaps in services and how that might relate to some of the development. I think Councilman Froelich, you asked some questions about that related to Winter Circle. They had a little bit of a hard time answering that. I just think that it's an important issue that the board should be proactive about. I mean, it was great that they came and did a presentation, but I think we shouldn't just rely on, I think we should be proactively asking some questions with the way that we're doing development, because there is, it's definitely a struggle for EMS providers right now. And I'm not sure where supervisor, like where the county is at in terms of assessing this. Maybe Saratoga County is ahead of the pack and already is doing some of this coordination to really look countywide at what happens with EMS services. Maybe we're doing it without needing to have the governor sign a bill, but I think that it would be a good thing to be representing at the county level as well. I represent people with disabilities, and I can tell you that there's a lot of issues that happen when people need to go to shelters or emergency places. We have an aging population in Milton, people who need medical equipment and access to electricity for oxygen and equipment to help transfer, to get to the bathroom. If that stuff is not available in some type of disaster emergency situation, it really causes a lot of problems. So there's probably, always conversation that could be had about making sure our emergency services are up to par and that our shelters, if we ever needed them, are ready to provide what our residents need. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else in the audience? Hearing none, Brenda, anybody via Zoom?
Nope.
No Zoom. Public comment number 2 is now closed. Brenda, do we have any correspondence?
No.
No correspondence. Discussion, town board, any new or old business? John, you're up.
Just to answer Michelle's question a little bit, the county does have a very good EMS program. All the EMS people get together. They have an EMS council in Saratoga County that studies all their calls and works within the mutual aid plans. So I think the county's very proactive in this. To say on the highway garage, highway garage is moving along. It's been delayed. The biggest reason it was delayed is because of the water sprinkler system that had to be built. And we are waiting on the 30,000 gallon water tank right now to be delivered. They do have, and what you saw tonight was new ending date of December 3rd. I'll believe it when it comes. I know we have been in great discussions, myself, Jason and David, with the contractors, kind of pushing them along. So we're getting there. What you saw this week, they did do a water hookup where they disturbed Rowland Street. That was to get the water into the site. They've been doing some piping. Sophia's been coordinating their stormwater management areas so they can get those tidied up before winter and get the blacktopping done and things like that. Inside, they are doing ceilings, finishing up some wall work, installing some equipment that needs to be installed, getting the final gas piping done and that. So that's about where we're at with all that.
Thank you, John. Just one thing, Brenda touched on trunk or treat. Just want to thank our town employees, Brenda, Shannon, Amanda, Jason Miller, and all the board members that are here. Everyone was in attendance for the trunk or treat. Huge success. Obviously, we learned a lesson with the amount of people, so next year we're going to plan accordingly. Also, want to advise everybody the townwide bulk trash collection is this Saturday here at Town Hall from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Barb?
No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
Trying to wrap up this comprehensive plan, and we're going to take into consideration everyone's comments tonight. So we'll try to get working on that because I think it's kind of crucial that we get into the zoning area of this. That's where the real meat and potatoes is for this. So.
Anything, Nick?
Nothing for me.
Nothing. Eric?
Yeah, a couple things. I pray my ambulance never needs to stop to pay a toll. I didn't realize that was a thing. Thank you. There's a piece of paper up front if anybody's interested and hasn't found it online about the household refuse day on Saturday, what you can bring, what you can't. Mostly electronics can't come in or home construction projects. And unfortunately, the chiefs have left, but that fire contract is a really important piece of business that's kind of taken a while to get to. And I think it's really important that, there was a good balance of Milton being responsible with taxpayer dollars, the fire department being well outfitted and not having to cut corners in terms of safety. The residents are safe, which is paramount. But more importantly, when you're dealing with things like that, sometimes it gets a little strained. And I think the relationship between the village and the town needs to exist long after we're all gone. And it's been there since I believe before. Like still in the 1700s, the town and the village were established. So it's been there a long time. It needs to continue. So congratulations to everybody who kind of hammered it out and made it happen. And everybody seems pleased with it in the end.
Thank you, Eric. We will be going into executive session tonight for employment status of a current employee. So can I get a motion to go into an executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Councilman Delnicki,
Yes.
Councilwoman Soden,
Yes.
Councilman Frolich,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr,
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes.
Second.
You shit.
Just
I'm looking for a motion to come out of
Make a
executive
motion to
session.
go back into regular, was it to end the executive session?
Yes.
Okay.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Councilman Delnicki, Councilwoman Soden,
Yes.
Councilman Frolich, Councilwoman Kerr,
Yes,
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes, no further action to come before the board. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? Councilman Delnicki,
Yes.
Councilwoman Soden,
Yes.
Councilman Frolich, Councilwoman Kerr,
Yes.
Supervisor Ostrander.
Yes.